Alright guys, welcome back to another PS4 tutorial. So in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you guys how to convert Fallout 4 PC mods to run on your PS4. There's been quite a lot of progress made in this area. After I did the Skyrim tutorial on how to convert Skyrim PC mods to run on the PS4 version, I didn't immediately go ahead and do a Fallout 4 video after that one because I could only get a couple of mods to work on Fallout 4. Most mods would just cause the game to freeze. Whereas now there's been a few developments thanks to a couple of people on Dark Software who have come forward and helped to, improve things and get more mods working. People like Clayson, Lorilith and the Green Flash. So huge thanks to them, of course, for figuring a bunch of stuff out. Now Fallout 4 by default, you can install mods, of course, if you're online connected to PSN, but you can only install mods that use assets that already exist within the game. So you can't use custom textures, custom sounds, custom models, any of that kind of stuff is not available on PS4 typically. But of course, with a jailbroken PS4, we can download mods from, Nexus mods for the PC version. We can put on custom textures, custom sounds, custom models, all that kind of stuff we can do on PS4 now. So as you can see here, I've got a few things installed, and we are definitely on the PS4 version, as you can see. So a few things I've got installed right here. You can see I've got some more green plants and grass in the environment, as normally it's all just kind of brown. And then of course I've got the CBBE body and a custom outfit for it. I've got some custom weapons, Desert Eagle and the R91 assault rifle. So as you can see, got quite a few mods here, as well as a retexture for the Pip-Boy and the cheat terminal, which allows you to modify the game completely. You can adjust the weather effects, you can teleport, you can do infinite ammo and infinite grenades, unlimited carry weight, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm going to show you guys how to install all of that stuff. Let's get into it. Okay, here we are back in the game with everything reset. Don't have anything, all my Pip-Boy's back to normal. I don't have the cheat terminal on here anymore or any of my guns installed. So we are starting from scratch. So if I head out here, I'll show you the first thing that you need, and this is important. You need to make sure that your game version is on version 1.20 or higher. So 1.20 or 1.22 or higher, that is the game version you want to be on. Now the reason for that is if you're on the base version of the game, 1.00, then less mods are going to be compatible. You're going to run into more issues with the game freezing when you have certain mods installed, particularly ones that have custom meshes, which are like custom models. Anything like that is going to cause the game to freeze. So if you're on a higher version like 1.20, it increases the compatibility and you're less likely to run into as many freezing issues with certain mods installed. Now the second thing that's important is that you have the DLCs installed. Now the reason for this is that if you do not have any of the DLCs installed and then you try and install a mod, what happens is when the game loads up, you'll run into an error message. If I can find the error message, I'll put it up on screen now, but you'll get an error message saying that you need to be signed into PSN in order to continue. And then if you click OK to that message, it will take you to another message that says something about your load order. And then it just keeps cycling between those two messages, and it doesn't actually let you into the main menu to go on the game. So for some reason, having the DLC installed fixes that error and that those messages don't appear. So have the DLC installed and make sure your game's up to date on 1.20 or 1.22 or higher. Alright, so now we can actually move on. Okay, so moving on to the computer here, as you can see I've got a bunch of mods here ready to install, which you can download the mods from nexusmods.com/fallout4, or just go to Nexus Mods. You have to create an account, but you can download the mods there, of course, for the PC version, and then we'll convert them and install them on the PS4. So you're also going to need the fake package tools because we're going to make a modded update. That's how we're going to patch the game with the mods. So you're also going to want the Fallout 4 conversion tools, which is just a bunch of tools for converting the mods, all packed into one zip file, so that'll be in the description. And of course you're going to want your game package file that you use to install the game, and the update package file as well for the 1.20 or 1.22 update. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this Fallout 4 modded update. And then we're going to open up the 1.20 update using the Orbis pub check from the fake package tools. And we're going to drag the package file in here. And then click on extract files. Enter all zeros as the passcode. And then we're going to select all files and directories and then select an output directory. So I'm going to select the Fallout 4 modded update folder. So I'm going to put that in as my output directory and then extract all the contents of that update to that folder. So we're just going to install the mods on top of this update and then patch the game with this update to get the mods installed. So we have the modded update extracted. So then we're going to go into the SC0 folder, copy all the files that are in here, go into the image 0 folder, go into SCE system and paste all the contents that was in the SC0 folder into the SCE system folder. And from there you can just get rid of that SC0 folder. So now we have the update extracted, all ready to go, and we can start installing our mods. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with some really simple mods and then we'll work our way up to some more complicated ones as we go on. So the first one I'm going to install is Reverb and Ambience Overhaul, which is just an ESP file. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to copy this into the data folder. So you're going to want to put all your ESP files inside the data folder for your mods. So there we go, that's Reverb and Ambience Overhaul, and then we're going to rename it just to copy the name, and then we need to add it into Fallout 4 CCC file and add the ESP file in here. So it's got all these ESL files from the update. So what you're going to want to do is add your mod in before those. So Reverb and Ambience Overhaul.esp. So the load order I think matters in this file. So ESP files should be loaded before ESL files, and ESM files should be loaded before ESP files. We're going to put the Reverb and Ambience Overhaul right here and save, and we can just keep this file open because we're going to be adding more mods to it. So that's us added that mod. If we repackaged this update and installed it, Reverb and Ambience Overhaul would be in effect and it would be working. So really simple for that one. Now the next one we have is Cheat Terminal. Now Cheat Terminal comes in two files. So we've got the cheatterminal.esp and the cheatterminal main.ba2. So we'll copy again both of these into the data folder, just like that. And then of course we'll add the ESP file into our Fallout 4 CCC. Make sure you add the file extension at the end and save it. And then the BA2 file. Now, so a BA2 file is just a container file, so it's got a bunch of, assets for the game inside it. So you'll have some BSA files will have like meshes, textures, scripts, and sounds. Some will just have scripts, some will just have, textures. So you want to check to see if the file actually contains any file types that need to be converted. So sounds and meshes are the two that normally need to be converted. So what I'm going to do is open up the Fallout 4 conversion tools, open up the BA2 extractor, and I'm just going to drag the cheat terminal BA2 into BAE.exe. So I'll drag it over, and then I can view the contents of what type of files are actually in here. So scripts and textures, this archive's fine. It doesn't contain any meshes or sounds, so it can be loaded. If it did contain any meshes or sounds, then you'd have to extract it into the raw folders and put those raw folders in the data folder. So we're good. So all we have to do with this one is add the BA2 into our Fallout 4.ini. So you have to scroll down all the way down to the archive section of the Fallout 4 ini, and then go to S resource archive list, and then at the end of this list, after Fallout 4 materials, you want to add a comma, space, and then paste in your BA2 file. And there we go, that will now load absolutely fine. So that's Cheat Terminal installed. So the next one we're going to do is a texture replacement. Now texture replacements are completely different, the way we install these. So if we open up this one, okay, so this one is Tukey's Textures, Grass and Plants, which adds a bit more kind of green plants and green vegetation into the environment. So right here we have just raw folders. So we've got a materials folder, a meshes folder, and a textures folder. So what we can do is we can just add these into the data folder just as they are. So textures, meshes, and materials. So we add those folders. Now the game won't defaultly try to load these folders. It will ignore them by default. But we can add a line into the Fallout 4 INI file that will force the game to use the files in those folders in priority over the BSA archives. So because of that, so we can do that by going down into the archive section, or just before the S resource data directories final, we're going to add B invalidate older files equals 1. Okay, just making sure that was right. So it's B invalidate older files equals 1, and that will allow the game to use the assets that are in those raw folders as well as the ones inside the BA2 archives. So that is that mod installed, and you do the same with any other one. This is a Pip-Boy retexture. So this one we've got optional main, which is the main retexture, and this is the dark 2K version. So we're going to go into the data folder. We've got so that's the dark retexture, and this is just a textures folder. So we go into the textures folder, go into the textures folder on here. We've got anim objects, so I'm just going to add that folder in, and that's that mod converted. So that's how you do texture replacements. Really, really simple. So that's 4 mods converted now, 4 more to go. So we've got CBBE, the body texture replacements. So there's a lot of different options in here. I'm just going to go with the required files. So right here we have the raw asset folders plus an ESP file. So of course this is pretty self-explanatory. So we go into the meshes folder, we go into the meshes folder in the data folder, copy this actors folder in, and then we go back, go into the textures folder, go into the textures folder in the data folder, copy the actors and clothes, and then we go into tools. Okay, we don't already have a tools folder, so we'll just add the entire folder in there in the data folder. And then cbbe.esp, we'll go ahead and copy that into the data folder, and of course add that into our Fallout 4 CCC, so cbbe.esp, and that's that mod installed as well. Okay, so also all pretty simple so far. Commonwealth, so Commonwealth shorts I'll just skip over because it installs in the exact same way. There's just 2 ESP files to add instead of 1. So the next thing we have are weapon mods. Now this is where things get a little tricky. So up till now, I've just been installing whatever meshes I want, but there's actually a problem with some meshes. Any meshes that have physics data, so collision data, inside them, typically causes problems on the PS4. You'll run into weird issues, or the game might just completely freeze on you. And that's something that weapon mods do a lot. Now, because I've installed these mods before, I know that all the meshes I've installed up till now work and they don't have any physics data, but the 2 weapon mods I'm about to install here do have physics data. So I'll show you guys how to, there's not really a permanent fix yet, but basically right now there is a temporary fix for the physics data for these mods to get these weapons to work. Because right now, if you install, say, the Desert Eagle mod, and then you try, and you don't change the physics data, you just install it, and then you try and go to the location where the Desert Eagle spawns in the game, then the entire game will just freeze. As soon as you get close enough for that model to be loaded into the game, then the whole game will freeze. So what I'm going to do is do the Desert Eagle. So I'll open up the Desert Eagle, and we'll just install things as we normally do to get things working. There's also sounds as well, which also need to be converted because the sounds will be in either XWM or WAV format, which doesn't work on the PS4. The PS4 has its own audio format, so we need to convert it to that as well. But luckily I've got stuff set up in the conversion tools to do this for you that's, you know, going to make it pretty easy to do. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to add the files that we know work. So we've got materials, weapons. So I'm going to go into the materials folder and copy the weapons folder in. And then we've got meshes, weapons. So we'll go into the meshes folder, copy the weapons folder in there. Then we have scripts. We don't have a scripts folder yet, so we'll just copy that entire folder in. Then sound, so we'll copy that whole folder in because we don't have a sounds folder in there yet. And then textures, we'll go into the textures folder and add the weapons folder into the textures folder. So that's all the raw assets installed. Then we take our ESP file, we copy that in, and we rename it, copy the name of it, and add it to our Fallout 4 CCC file. And that's the mod installed. But this mod will not work properly. It will just freeze when we go to the location where it's installed. So to fix the physics data, you know, I'm probably going to have an extended version of this on my Patreon page because there's a lot to cover here. So I made a tool to make this easier called Physics Patcher, where you just put a folder that contains NIF files over Physics Patcher, and it will scan them all, check to see which ones actually have physics data and which ones don't, and it will skip all the ones that don't, and the ones that do have physics data, it will swap it out with this reference NIF file, which is the AK-47 from the PS4 version, and it will swap out the physics data so that your weapon won't freeze when you approach it in game, and you'll be able to pick it up and then use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this whole Desert Eagle folder and drag it over Physics Patcher, and there you go. So it says 3 converted, 10 skipped, 13 files in total, and there we go. So it just swapped out all that physics data on all of those NIF files without you having to manually do it in NIF scope. So there we go. So that's the meshes fixed. So the next thing we have is sounds. So we have a WPN pistol deagle fire sound as a WAV file. So we need to convert that to the PS4 audio format, which is an 89 file. So also in the Fallout 4 conversion tools, you'll find XMA to 89 converter, and then you just have to open up XMA to 89.exe, drag the WAV file into it, so we can just convert it. And now there we go, it creates an 89 file in the same directory, and you can just delete the original WAV file. So that's the sounds and the meshes converted for that weapon mod. So there we go, that weapon should now work in game. And the AS Vector installs in the exact same way as the Deagle, so I'll just go ahead and skip over that one as well. You've got sound files to convert and the physics data and the meshes. Okay, so now we have all the mods installed, so we're ready to repackage this into a modded update. So you can do that, you can just go ahead and build the package file now, and all your mods should work. However, there is an error you might run into when you try and build the package file that says the directory depth is deeper than the maximum. So if you don't have that error when you're building the package file, then you don't have to do this, but I'll show you how to fix it if you do run into this problem. So if you run into that error on any of your assets, like your sounds, your meshes, your materials, or your scripts, what we can do is we can repackage those raw assets into a BA2 archive and then get the game to load that instead, and then that'll fix that error message, and then you can just delete the raw asset folders because you'll be loading it from a BA2 file instead. So what we're going to do is open up the conversion tools, run the BA2 generator. So open this up, archive 2. You want to add things in this order. Add materials first, then add the meshes, then add the scripts, then add the sounds, and textures you cannot add. Do not add textures, they will not work. They have to be converted into GNF format in order for them to work, and they have to be in their own separate BA2 archive. So don't add textures, just add the other assets. So then we can do file, save as, so yeah, modded.ba2. So I'm going to add this into the data folder and save it. And there we go, that generates the ba2 file, and it should put it somewhere in here. So there it is, modded.ba2. So then I can just add this into fallout4.ini inside the archive section. So we've got archive, we've got cheatterminal.ba2, so just add it in the same place, modded.ba2. So then I can delete all of these raw folders now because I added them into a ba2 archive, and the game will load those instead. Tools, I'm not too sure if tools can be added into a ba2 archive, which is why I left them out. I'm just going to leave the textures in the raw folder. So now that you've done that, that should fix the directory depth is, deeper than the maximum. That should fix that error message, and now we're ready to create our modded update. So to do that, we're going to open up the fake package tools. We're going to open up GenGP4, which is actually a separate application to the fake package tools. which will be linked in the description as well. So you're going to open that up, select the image0 folder for the modded update and paste that in to the file path, and then generate the GP4 file. And there we go, that generates it. Then we go to the GP4 tab, which gives us the XML data. We're going to edit this line, this package PS4 underscore app, change it to package PS4 underscore patch, and then scroll along, change digital 50 to digital 25, and then save GP4 file. Just save it into the same folder next to the image0 folder right here. One more thing, which is open up image0, open up the SCE system and edit the param.sfo in a hex editor. Yes, you can kind of use param orbis pub param.sfo thing program. This is quicker, trust me. So throw it into a hex editor. Again, a link to a hex editor will be in the description. And then change the version number from 1.00 to 1.21 in my case, because the update is 1.20, so I need to do a higher number than 1.20 in order for it to patch it. So for me it's 1.21. If you had installed 1.22 before, then you want to make sure you would change it to 1.23 for the modded update. Then change this GD, which stands for game disk, change that to GP for game patch, and then save it. Make sure you don't backspace when you're in a hex editor, because that will change the structure of the file. You want to overwrite data that's already there, not add or remove existing data. So just, yeah, be careful of that. Control Z if you make a mistake and accidentally backspace. So there we go, that's it done. And now we can build this update. So we're going to open Orbis PubGen. We're going to do file open. We're going to open the GP4 file for the modded update, which is now a patch package. And then we go to command, project settings, patch, select. For the application patch, we're going to select the game application, the actual package file for the game. So we're going to select that because that is the game application that this patch is designed to patch. So we're going to do build, select a output location. So again, I'm just going to select the Fallout 4 output directory and build the package file. And there we go. We're now building our modded update to patch the game with. Okay, and once it's completed, you can close out of that and we now have our package file ready to go. Alright, so I'm going to install this using the remote package installer, but of course you can just put the package file on the root of a USB drive. Make sure the USB drive is formatted in exFAT or FAT32 format, and then you can just put the package file on the root of the drive, plug it into the PS4, and then go on to the debug settings by running the homebrew enabler, and then go into the debug settings, game, package installer, and install the package file that way. So I have a full tutorial showing you guys how to use the remote package installer if you're unfamiliar. So I'm just going to use this, and then I'm going to grab my package file, the modded update. I'm going to drag it over install package.bat, and it's going to start installing the package file. There you go, added to downloads. Okay, so here we are back over to the console properly, and it's just finished downloading and installing, or downloading, now it's installing. And there we go, it's installed. So now I can close the remote package installer and go to information, and as you can see, we're now on 1.21. So now we can run the game, and hopefully all of our mods will now work. Okay, and here we are back in the game right here, and as you can see, we've got our green bushes, our green shrubbery. We've got our weapons here. Also the reverb that you can hear as well. Also, if I fire out here, that's what it sounds like. If I go in here and fire the gun, a much more meaty sound and reverberation inside this little caravan compared to firing out here. So yeah, there you go. We've got our custom textures on here, and let's check for our cheat terminal. There we go, cheat terminal portable. Shove that in. We can do a bunch of stuff in here, customize all of this, and we've got our custom Pip-Boy and everything, and of course our what's it called, CBBE body as well is all right there. Now obviously this stuff doesn't spawn on you straight away. This is just a save that I've already prepared. You know, you'll have to actually find the location of where the weapons spawn in the world. Also, mods that require stuff like the Fallout 4 script extender are not going to work on the PS4. So it's, you know, not a good idea really to install those. And what else? Oh yeah, custom animations. So like weapons that have custom animations are not going to work. The weapon will still work in like third person, but it'll look completely screwed up in first person if it has custom animations. So that's still things that need to be worked on and figured out by people in the community to you know, figure out why that happens and how to fix that stuff. And maybe when more mods are available and these issues have been resolved, then I might come back and do another video showing you guys how to convert more mods. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video or found the information useful. It's a really long video, I do apologize, but hopefully you got something out of that. So please leave a like and subscribe, and there is an extended version of this tutorial on Patreon as well, which will probably be an extra 5 minutes long or 10 minutes long, with some more explanations for certain things, because, you know, I don't want a video on YouTube to be over 30 minutes long because nobody will watch it. So hopefully this video is more like 23 or 24 minutes. But if you want a version that's 30 minutes long with some more explanations, some more info, then check that out on Patreon. Link will be in the description. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.